Hello and welcome back to my humble show. I'm your host for today and every other day, the Articulate Thinker, hopefully, here to bring you art articles and articulation straight from Articulation Station, where I'll be assessing the situation. So be sure to like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it. I'm going to be clarifying some of what I said in my previous show from just a couple of days ago. I meant to clear this up sooner, but I have been busy. I did add a comment beneath that previous video, which I uploaded on this channel. I was talking in it about Chicago. Some ambushes of federal agents which took place over the weekend on the 4th. There were some clips going around. One of them was inaccurately attributed. It turns out there were a couple of different incidents. The footage was getting a bit confusing, in part because I believe the two separate incidents happened on the same street, just blocks away from each other, within a relatively short amount of time during the same day. So yes, I added a correction in the comment section of that previous video of mine. I said, the video of the SUV ramming the federal agents wasn't actually video of La Maggie. It was video of a separate attack on ICE agents from later that same day. And I want to break all of that down, but yes, I did say I considered deleting that entire video, due to the false info, which hadn't been corrected anywhere at that time, at the time of my recording. But hopefully, whomever watches sees my correction. I might also record a follow-up later correcting the record. So that's exactly what I'm doing now. I do want to briefly cover the latest in regards to Chicago. So I saw this clip just a few minutes ago, thought, why not throw it into the thread? Well, AG Pamela Bondi has been testifying, or was testifying earlier today, in front of the Senate. And Dick Durbin was asking her a question. She wasn't having any of it. I'll go ahead and play this for you.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
So yes, a lot going on right now. There's currently a government shutdown. National Guard are being deployed to cities such as Chicago, maybe even Portland. Fingers crossed on that one. I have an article pulled up. I want to read into it just a little bit. This headline from New York Times. Live updates. National Guard troops assemble in Chicago area as Trump officials make visits. Troops from Texas were staging in Elwood, Illinois, as officials in Chicago and Portland, Oregon, were trying to block the deployments in court. So I'll just read the first part of this article, and then I'll proceed to continue clarifying the crimes, alleged crimes, which happened over the weekend in Chicago, the assaults, the ambushes, I should say, on federal agents, ICE, DHS, etc., etc. So members of Texas National Guard at the U.S. Army Reserve Center in Elwood, Illinois on Tuesday, courtesy of Greg Abbott, obviously Donald Trump. Here's the latest. National Guard troops from Texas assemble on the outskirts of Chicago on Tuesday, an extraordinary symbol of what local officials have decried as an unconstitutional invasion ordered by President Trump. Now, I'm just going to stop long enough to say that it is amusing to me how so many people on the left seem to believe that millions of people illegally flooding into this country is not in any way unconstitutional. In fact, we shouldn't even call them illegal. We definitely shouldn't call them aliens. Heaven forbid. We should at most call them undocumented and then proceed to attempt to document them all. And because of the desire to treat people who are here illegally like they're here legally, well, that has played a role in the shutdown of the government currently. Yet at the same time, these same liberal, leftist-leaning politicians, pundits, you name it, they believe that law enforcement, enforcing law within this country, is unconstitutional. I mean, they're a couple of steps away from going back to the defund the police movement, except for in this case, it's the federal agents thereafter, not the local police. And in fact, I believe there has been some controversy in the aforementioned Chicago because of some hindrance from the local police in helping the federal agents out in those crimes which occurred over the weekend. So the mobilization came as Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, visited the agency's field office in Chicago, and Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, met with law enforcement officials in Portland, Oregon. Governor Tina Kotek of Oregon said she met with Miss Noem at an airport when she landed and told her that there is no insurrection in her state. Now, to be fair, I think we're getting a little bit carried away with the word insurrection. There has certainly been some rioting by anarchists and even Antifa in Portland, especially. But for the most part, it seems like a ragtag bunch of adult toddlers running around trying to get their way. Whatever that way is exactly, I'm not so sure. If you watch the live streams of what's going on there at night, sure, there are things that happen. And then sometimes the wrong person gets prosecuted or at least arrested. Shout out Nick Sorter on that. But I'm just not so sure that insurrection is the most applicable word here. These issues could be easily sorted out by local police, but because of the areas in which this protesting/rioting is going on, well, the blue state governors, mayors, etc., aren't exactly willing to shut down the show. The crap show that it is. So yes, politics is being played across the board. Donald Trump is capitalizing on it all. He wants to exercise his authority, whether it is constitutional or unconstitutional. These things get decided in courts, and then judges decide that they're the presidents, and they're the ones who get to make the executive decisions, and so everyone's abusing their power at this point. But of course, everyone is doing what they feel politically compelled to do. And I'm just saying that at the end of the day, if you're trying to prevent crime from occurring, that's a message I can generally get behind. And if you're on the other side of that, insisting that actually crime is what's constitutional and those who are enforcing the law are actually the ones acting unconstitutionally, that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense to you. But reading on here, Illinois and Chicago officials have contested the president's deployment orders in court, denouncing the step of moving National Guard forces across state lines without consent from local or state authorities. Mr. Trump has also tried to send troops from Texas and California to Portland, but a federal judge, as I mentioned, has blocked those moves for now, saying they appear unconstitutional. Of course. The president contends that major U.S. cities, almost entirely those led by Democrats, need the military to crack down on crime, something troops are generally barred from doing under federal law, and to protect federal immigration agents from protesters as they try to carry out his mass deportation policies. Also worth noting that this strategy worked in D.C., that's undisputed. But these other blue states do not want to take notes at all. Not saying D.C. is exactly a state, but you know what I mean. If a strategy works, might want to deploy more of it. But no, can't have that because Orange Man bad. J.B. Pritzker of Illinois and other Democratic leaders have accused the president of conducting a campaign divorced from reality in an effort to punish political enemies, sow chaos, and consolidate his power under martial law. On Tuesday, troops from the Texas National Guard were assembling at a training center in Elwood, about an hour's drive from downtown Chicago. Here's what we're covering. Administration officials. Let's see. Twin court hearings. Approval and resistance. City leaders weigh in. I don't want to read through all of that. There are many more updates. Take it from New York Times with a grain of salt. Or with a grain of sugar if that's your jam. We'll have to wait and see how the cookie of chaos crumbles on all of this. But yes, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Be happy to hear from you, even if you disagree with me. I try to be as reasonable as possible. And correct the record on anything I may have been incorrect about. So I wasn't the only one who misattributed the footage from the weekend. Here I said, Kash Patel reposted this video and suggested that it was connected to the Miramar Martinez, aka La Maggie, and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz incident like 4 hours after Tricia McLaughlin clarified that it was a totally different incident. Tricia McLaughlin, of course, is the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. So I said, I thought I was confused. I feel like Patel needs to stop providing such updates unless he personally has the scoop. I'll save the rest of this caption for a moment. So basically what had happened was there was this video that was posted by this reporter of sorts. She posts all sorts of journalistic content. I don't know where she gets it all. And this video was one example. She said, this is the video where Miramar Martinez, a.k.a. La Maggie, rammed a white DHS vehicle who had their emergency lights on. Another DHS black SUV then attempts to ram Miramar's SUV from behind. One DHS agent is on the passenger side firing shots. Democrats are insane. So, yeah, not exactly accurate. This is how it started. I played this video and reacted to it in my previous show, so I don't need to go through all of that again. The point is, it was not actually a video of Miramar Martinez, aka La Maggie. So the community note here states, the Department of Homeland Security confirmed this video is not from the October 4, 2025 incident involving federal agents and La Maggie in Chicago. So the reference here is Tricia McLaughlin, whom I just mentioned moments ago. The incident, however, did occur in the same area, on the same street, in fact, I believe, on the same day. So that's why it was so confusing. And of course, FBI Director Kash Patel reposted that video on the 5th, though this video was actually originally from the 4th. And he said, the FBI just arrested 2 individuals who were allegedly driving these vehicles and attacking our federal law enforcement officers. They have been charged for assaulting federal officers with a deadly or dangerous weapon. Attack our law enforcement and this FBI will find you and bring you to justice. The 2 individuals whom he was referring to here were Miramar and Anthony. These 2 individuals. Alright, I totally just lost my train of thought because I had to go to the other room, check on my wife and child. A lot of screaming going on in there. Hopefully you did not hear the baby being crazy. But I am back, and hopefully back on track. Let's see, what was I saying? Kash Patel had reposted that inaccurately attributed video, and his problem was that he continued to connect it to Miramar and Anthony several hours after Tricia McLaughlin had clarified that the footage was of something else entirely. So this is what she said. This footage is not from the attack in Chicago involving the 10-car caravan blockading our law enforcement, not involving La Maggie. This is from another vehicular assault later that day in Chicago where an individual rammed an ICE Gov vehicle. This violence is rampant, and as much as J.B. Pritzker wants to whitewash the facts on the ground, so it's good that we do have the facts now, as you can see in this community note. Jumping back to my commentary on Kash Patel, I'm not sure when the community note started getting attached to the video, but if it was around the time when McLaughlin posted the clarification, then I sure hope Patel didn't mischaracterize the video, even with a community note already attached to it. He has added to confusion a couple of different times as of late in regards to a couple of different crimes because of his little updates on X. I can't say too much because, like I said, I recorded a very lengthy video the other day in which I talked extensively about the footage, which was incorrectly attributed, and I didn't see the clarifications until later, but that's because no one had clarified at that time. So I'm going to continue on down this thread and see what else I might have missed. It was difficult to get to the bottom of this because, again, there were 2 different incidents, similar sorts of incidents which occurred in the same area of Chicago. on the same day. Here's a press release from FBI Chicago detailing the two separate incidents which were initially being confused as one incident. Then again, considering how both incidents happened in the area of South Kedzie, I suppose it's possible that the two separate vehicular attacks had been coordinated? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I know there was a group of ICE opposing people that day going after the agents. So it is possible that the two different attacks were somewhat coordinated. Don't hold me to that. FBI Chicago and ATF Chicago seeking information regarding assaults on federal officers and damage to government property. And I could actually pull up the link to this rather than reading from the screenshot. I do have the link pulled up. I looked for updates before I started recording this. I could not find any, so I think someone is still at large. The driver of the black SUV, which was ramming the truck in the video, which I just played a little bit of, I believe the driver of that SUV is still at large, unless I've missed some updates on that. The Chicago Division's Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, obviously, and Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, obviously, are offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those who aided, abetted, or conspired, whether through funding, coordination, planning, or other means, in the two assaults on federal officers and damage to government property on October 4 of this year in Chicago, Illinois. So here we go. Here are the distinguishing factors. At approximately 10:30 a.m., it is alleged that approximately 10 vehicles were involved in impeding and attempting to box in U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers in a vehicle chase in the 3900 block of Kedzie, Chicago. The drivers of the two vehicles have been apprehended, as we discussed. A video of the incident is provided below. At approximately 12 p.m., an hour and a half later, it is alleged that a black Chevy Tahoe, Illinois license plate EM62829, rammed a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement vehicle repeatedly in the 3700 block of Kedzie, Chicago. And the driver of the Tahoe is currently at large. Photo of the subject's vehicle are provided below. I'll go ahead and jump down to those photos. Here you go. At approximately 12 p.m. on October 4 of 2025, it is alleged that a black Chevy Tahoe, Illinois license plate, blah, 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 blah. We already read that. But yes, and then here's video of the initial incident, the first incident, which did feature LaMaggie. It's actually difficult to tell what's going on. So this vehicle right here was a federal vehicle, and it was being harassed by the surrounding vehicles, including this one right here. It looks similar to the other black SUV, but it's missing its right back hubcap, and as you can see, this other one is not. This is the one in the misattributed video, and this is the one in the LaMaggie incident, but there's also another car on the other side of this SUV here, which I believe LaMaggie Miramar was driving. Actually, there were several different vehicles, like the statements from DHS, FBI have said. There was approximately 10 vehicles that ultimately attempted to barricade the federal vehicle in some sort of way. But you can see some sort of collision occurring right over here, and then traffic comes to a standstill. Vehicles, including this black SUV and some others, start backing up. It actually runs into this truck right here. Let me play that one more time. Boom, right there, backs into that truck, parked truck, turns around, takes off the other way. And then you'll see momentarily what seems to be the same black SUV circling back around and parking here in this parking lot. There goes that car. This car is turning around. Oh, but look. Black SUV. So either this is a different black SUV, which also has the back right rim, or shall I say hubcap, missing, or it's the same one. I think it's the same one. But that's all from the incident with Miramar Martinez and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz. So what else do I have here? If I understand correctly, the Tahoe seen in these photos and also allegedly in the aforementioned misattributed video was apprehended, but the driver is still at large, or at least was at the time of the FBI Chicago press release. And even now, because I haven't seen any updates on it. See link and thread above. Already did that. Another look at these images. There was a man taken into custody, and I believe he was sitting in the back passenger seat. But as I understand it, the driver was a younger Hispanic man who went running. By the way, these are two different black SUVs if anyone was thrown off by the similarity. So here's a additional statement from FBI Chicago in which they're offering that $50,000 reward for any information. So a side-by-side look at those two black SUVs. You see here 3,900 block of Eskedzie and 3,700 block of Eskedzie from a couple of hours apart. What else do we have here? Well, yes, the FBI Chicago page on X just said that FBI Chicago and ATF Chicago are offering that reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those involved in these assaults who aided, abetted, and conspired, whether through funding, coordination, planning, or other means. Contact 1-800-CALL FBI, yada yada yada, bing bang boom. To be fair to Kim, as in the Kim Katie USA account, this was her reposting the video with more accurate info, though I think she meant to say 37th and Kedzie. At least that's what the authorities have since referred to this incident as, a 37th and Kedzie incident, a 39th and Kedzie incident. Gets very confusing. But yes, here she reposted that video, which initially received the community notes. And she said, repost of the Black Tahoe who rammed two DHS vehicles around 37th in Kedzie and Brighton Park, Illinois on October 4th with the police audio. A male Hispanic ran from the vehicle. Yeah.
And for the units, the 9 units on the citywide coming in as assisted PO, there was a federal agent who said that a black Tahoe with the plate of Eddie Mary 62829 ran him off the road, making him crash. We had a male Hispanic who ran from the vehicle. The caller's in a white Ram pickup truck. Also, another report that the agents were getting assaulted by a large crowd at that location. Nothing further right now. 9th District, Zone 13.
So again, I don't need to break any of that down since I did that the other day, but just trying to set the record straight here. Shout out to Kim Katie USA. It is difficult to get everything accurate when there's so much to cover all the time. Important thing is that you do the best you can and admit when you're wrong. If I'm not mistaken, this was a passenger, and the driver, young Hispanic male, as was mentioned in the dispatch, ran and may still be at large. So this video is also from Kim Katie USA. And I'll just go ahead and play this out.
37 y Kedzie, 37 y Kedzie. 37 y Kedzie. Estamos en la 37 y la Kedzie.
I guess I don't really need to play all of this out. It's over 3 minutes long. You can hear the voice of at least one woman speculating whether or not this man is here in the country legally. I'm not sure exactly what the conclusion on that was, but it appeared to me that he was indeed in the back seat of the Black Tahoe, and he was ultimately loaded up, taken away by ambulance. You saw some injuries on his face.
37 y Kedzie. El señor sí es ciudadano, pero lo agarraron nada más porque sí.
And supposedly a driver had run.
Kedzie, por favor, graben, por favor. 37 y Kedzie, le va a llevar la ambulancia.
Okay, so there we go. The ones with the guns are out here. Check it out.
Graben 37 y Kedzie.
Loading him up there.
Entrado. eso, y que vaya.
I haven't really heard
Vaya,
a
no
lot
pueden ir
about
con
him.
ellos. She's family member. Él es ciudadano. Lo agarraron porque pensaban que tenía una arma.
Caption of what the woman is saying, because I can't understand what she's saying, says, they grabbed him because they thought he had a gun. I don't know about all of this. This is just hearsay of people here in the video saying things. So I don't want to speculate too much more on all of it. There's a pretty good look at the black Tahoe as seen on the screen here. Yeah. So enough of that. On to this. This was the dispatch recording which was making its rounds, and I did play this the other day, but I noticed, and I say here, if you notice, the beginning is in reference to 37th and Kedzie, while the end is in reference to 39th and Kedzie. Maybe dispatch from two separate incidents was posted together. Question mark. So yes, EXX Alerts had posted this recording the other day, and it confused me a bit. So they said dispatch audio confirms Chicago police were ordered not to assist federal agents that were cornered earlier today in Chicago. Agents were actively en route when the order was given. Dispatcher initially seemed slightly taken back by the order, but promptly relayed the message to all responding units. So I believe that order for Chicago police not to assist federal agents was in reference to the Lamaggie incident, the 39th and Kedzie incident. Let me just go ahead and play this one more time.
Okay. Any kind of particular hairstyle, just younger male Hispanic on foot wearing all black?
No hairstyle.
Okay, 10-4. And one is for the hit and run. This guy fled from the scene at 37th Place in Kedzie. It all started at I-55 in Kedzie. Then they fled southbound at Kedzie, where that offending vehicle crashed. They ran the federal agent off the road. They fled on foot westbound 37th Place.
All right, see, that's in reference to 37th in Kedzie, which is in reference to this and this. Hopefully I didn't lose my place there. Oh, shoot, I did.
Okay, and
But jumping ahead in this recording,
off the road, they fled on foot westbound 37th Place from Kedzie. It was a male Hispanic younger wearing all black clothing. 99.
Yeah, send the cars in that direction. Have them stay put 2 or 3 blocks away, all right? Have them hold tight until I give you further direction, please.
Okay, 10-4, and for the units responding to 39th Place in Kedzie per...
okay, and now hear the switch to 39th in Kedzie. So at some point in there, I think there's a switch from one incident to the other.
999, if you guys can just... For the units responding to 39th and Place in Kedzie, if you guys can start heading there as quick as you can, and then just hold tight for instructions with 999.
999.
999.
Put the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Radio check. And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that, per 999, chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
62, we're going to clear out as soon as we can, Spot. We're like locked in over here, so we're going to do the best we can to get out of here as soon as we can.
All right, and there you hear the incident with Lamaggie referenced. Police were told basically to stand down, not to assist the federal agents. So that has received some criticism, obviously, as it should. Criticism going all the way up to Governor Pritzker. Not sure why Mayor Brandon Johnson's statement is cut off the front of this clip, but here was the 39th and Kedzie incident dispatch when police were seemingly told not to assist the federal agents, as we just heard. But I'll go ahead and play this clip. And yes, this is a Fox News clip, outnumbered to be exact. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is referenced at the beginning, but his statement is cut out of the video, so that's what I was pointing out.
That's Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson from earlier today defending his city's police department, saying they respond to every 911 call. Then how does he explain this response when federal agents who were surrounded by an angry mob needed help from the police?
And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999. Chief of Patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location. All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Place in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Place in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
Here's the charging document in the arrest of Miramar Martinez and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz. I don't know how much time I want to spend on this. It's kind of a confusing document to read through because of all the legal terminology and abbreviations. But the basics, yeah, this is a criminal complaint against Miramar Martinez and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz. Case number 25CRI. The complainant in this case state that the following is true to the best of my knowledge and belief. On or about October 4 of 2025 at Chicago, in the Northern District of Illinois, Eastern Division, the defendants violated Code Section, Title 18, United States Code, Section 111A and B. Offense description: forcibly assaulted, resisted, opposed, impeded, intimidated, and interfered with a person designated in Title 18, United States Code, Section 1114, namely an officer and employee of the United States, while he was engaged in the performance of his official duties and in the commission of such acts, used a deadly and dangerous weapon. This criminal complaint is based upon these facts. X continued on the attached sheet. Signed, Heather K. McShane, U.S. Magistrate Judge. A deadly and dangerous weapon is mentioned. It's referring to the vehicles used to ambush the federal agent. It was also reported early on and stated by DHS that Miramar had a semi-automatic weapon with her. It wasn't actually mentioned in this charging document, which of course led to some questions, but I'll explain that momentarily. Here's the entire document. Not going to read all of that, but a few photos of vehicles. Damage to driver's side of the CBP vehicle. That's the silver SUV we saw in the video where all of those vehicles started to turn around and drive the opposite way. Damage to front passenger side of Martinez's vehicle here, as you can see, and there's some other related photos. I'm not going to go back and rehash that anymore. Let's see. Here's a quote from an article published by the Chicago Sun-Times. The judge said, "It is a miracle to me that no one was more seriously injured in the incident in which Martinez and Ruiz allegedly followed agents for more than 20 minutes as they drove after conducting an operation in Oaklawn." But she said the defendant's lack of criminal history and extensive family and community ties compelled her to release them pending trial. So, yes, Miramar Martinez and Anthony Ruiz have since been released until trial, apparently. I will pull this article up and read through at least some of it, but let me make my way further on down through this thread. In the meantime, some were pointing out that no semi-automatic weapon was mentioned in the criminal complaint, despite it being referenced in the initial statements by DHS, etc. But highlighted below is the reason why. And here I posted a screenshot from that criminal complaint. It said, this affidavit is submitted in support of a criminal complaint alleging that Miramar Martinez and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz have violated Title 18. There's the code. Because this affidavit is being submitted for the limited purpose of establishing probable cause in support of a criminal complaint charging Martinez and Ruiz with assault on a federal officer using a deadly or dangerous weapon, I have not included each and every fact known to me concerning this investigation. I have set forth only the facts that I believe are necessary to establish probable cause to believe that the defendant committed the offense alleged in the complaint. So, when I read that, I thought, she must have not actually brandished the firearm. Or, on top of that, she must have had it legally. All of that appears to be true, and that's why it was not mentioned in the criminal complaint. But that will be explained in the article from Chicago Sun-Times. So stick around for that. But yes, as I said, some people were pointing out the seeming discrepancy. While the federal government initially said agents shot a woman armed with a gun after ramming their vehicles yesterday in Brighton Park, Illinois, they have now released their criminal complaint charging Miramar Martinez without any mention of a gun. So Ford Fisher was pointing all of this out. Another journalist here on X. Fair point, but he continues on down in his thread, and he explains the seeming discrepancy as well. So let me just go through a couple more things here before I go back to that article where LaMaggie started. This is a photo of her, which was going around the other day. The armed woman, known as LaMaggie, who has a history of doxing ICE agents. Today she rammed her vehicle into an ICE vehicle and was shot for her efforts. Yes, she was shot multiple times. Drove away, ultimately ended up in the hospital and was discharged. Where LaMaggie ended up, I don't know why this post is saying that it's unavailable. It's not unavailable. According to Courtney Spinelli here, another, you guessed it, journalist, reporter for WGNN News. At the truck repair shop, workers said the woman, LaMaggie, parked in their lot and came inside bleeding profusely with multiple gunshot wounds. Staff and a customer tried to stop the bleeding and called for help. They weren't aware of what happened until federal agents arrived, they said. And she has a thread put together as well. It shows some of the protesting which took place in that area of Kedzie when all of this was going on. Because shots were fired there. So obviously the vultures circled around. That's what I call activists. Vultures. Not all the time, but much of the time. A lot of information in her thread here, but none of it really stands out to me. Much of it is what I've already covered as far as I can see. So I'm going to go ahead and try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. I'll end this thread on this thought. J.B. Pritzker couldn't care less about all of the above. His care extends no further than his narrative. So here's a post from Tricia McLaughlin sending a message to J.B. Pritzker. She says, "Get out of your mansion and go see Chicago." A day after DHS Gov law enforcement was attacked by domestic terrorists in Chicago, Pritzker goes on CNN to serve up a smorgasbord of lies. And she's reposting J.B. Pritzker's post in which he posts a clip of him on CNN being interviewed by Jake Tapper. I covered some of that interview in that previous video, that previous show of mine. So I don't even know if I want to play this video. But here he was saying, "My message to Kristi Noem is clear. Get out of Chicago." And she responds basically saying, "Get into Chicago." But yeah, she continued here. If J.B. Pritzker actually walked his own city, he would see the domestic terrorists attacking American law enforcement officers in the scourge of insidious violent crime that is a direct result of his own policies. ICE, Gov, and CBP law enforcement officers exercise reasonable suspicion as protected by the Fourth Amendment under the U.S. Constitution. JB's jeers and smears of racial profiling are repugnant. Last week, federal law enforcement conducted a targeted operation at a Chicago apartment building that resulted in the arrest of multiple terrorists. Trinidad Tren de Aragua gang members and violent criminals. Why is the sitting governor so unconcerned with terrorists living among innocents in his city? Children were never zip-tied. This is a shameful and disgusting lie. POTUS, Trump, and Secretary Noem will not let children be exploited and trafficked by gangs and criminals like the past administration. You know, this is a clip of J.B. Pritzker on with Jake Tapper is only 1:13 long. I'll go ahead and play it because she's responding to some of the stuff he said, I guess, just for the full context. Here you go.
Let me just say that the secretary doesn't know what she's talking about. She frankly says that people are clapping. They're not. They're booing her on the street, and they're booing ICE and CBP. They're marching, the CBP marching on a beautiful Sunday in Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. They're raiding neighborhoods where instead of going after the bad guys, they're just picking up people who are brown and black and then checking their credentials. Are you a U.S. citizen? I don't know about you, but I don't carry around papers that say I'm a U.S. citizen. So you can imagine people are getting detained. They're getting arrested, U.S. citizens. And they did this, of course, when they raided a building in the middle of the night in South Shore. 130 people that were emptied out of this building. They were going after a few gang members, and instead they broke windows, they broke down doors, they ransacked the place, and there were people that were held, elderly people and children zip-tied. Elderly people held for 3 hours at a time. They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago if they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do. They need to get the heck out.
So let me get this straight. People illegally in Chicago, he believes they're welcome. Law enforcement, he believes they should get out. That shows you his priorities. Now listen, I get some things wrong, but at least I come back and clarify it to the best of my ability. I can't help but notice that he seems to mischaracterize pretty much everything. Here he's talking about racial profiling. Somebody who happens to be Hispanic could ram an ICE or DHS vehicle, and he'd still claim that ICE were the ones who were doing something unconstitutional. He's so one-dimensional on this stuff. He doesn't even care to attempt to comprehend anyone on the opposing end of the political spectrum. And I get it. It's politics. That's how these things work. But his my way or hit the highway stance isn't exactly working for his city. And I guess no matter how many people die at the hands of people here legally or illegally, if it's the Trump administration stepping in, he's going to claim they're just stepping on toes. I don't know exactly what his point was by saying people are booing, people are jeering. Okay, yeah, they're protesting, which is why additional reinforcements have to be sent in to keep things civil, because it turns to chaos awfully quick. And it's not just the fault of the feds, as reluctant as I have been over the course of time to trust the feds. There's a lot of people just ready to riot in the streets these days. And when there are people just following feds around, ramming their vehicles, harassing them, getting in gunfights, or just getting shot by them, acting like, oh, there's nothing to see here. Just law-abiding citizens here going about their day until the feds get in their way. There's no end to the spin. So I'll end on this article here from the Chicago Sun-Times, just in case I missed any details. Body camera video appears to contradict the government's claim that Miramar Martinez drove toward officers before one of them opened fire at her Saturday morning in Brighton Park, her attorney alleged. So her attorney alleged that Miramar Martinez did not drive toward officers. Now, it's possible that she was trying to get away after ramming them when one of them shot her. I'm not sure exactly how this played out. But to act like she did nothing, she was just an innocent citizen, an innocent civilian, is just propaganda. Attorney for a woman shot by Border Patrol claims agent said do something, beep, before shooting. Okay, so this headline here starts with claims of Myanmar's attorney. Take that for what it's worth. Body camera video of a Border Patrol agent involved in the shooting of a woman who was allegedly chasing agents in Brighton Park over the weekend shows an officer saying, "Do something, beep," before pulling over and shooting the woman 5 times. The woman's attorney said in federal court on Monday. Okay, so her attorney is framing this. I'm not so sure I buy it. Just going to throw that out there. It's possible that it played out in exactly the way the woman's attorney is saying, but I just have a hard time believing it. The video appears to contradict the government's allegation that Miramar Martinez, 30 years of age, drove toward officers before one of them opened fire on her late Saturday morning on Kedzie Avenue near 39th Street. Her attorney, Christopher Parente, said at a detention hearing at the Dirksen Federal Courthouse. It is interesting to me how Chicago sometimes they'll describe it as though they themselves witnessed it, and then at the end of their description they'll say, said attorney, which just sounds like more hearsay to me, if you ask me. A U.S. District Judge Heather McShane denied a request by the federal government to detain Martinez and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz, 21 years of age, pending trial. Martinez and Ruiz, who wore orange jumpsuits for the detention hearing, were charged Sunday with felony assault on a federal officer. The judge said, "It's a miracle to me that no one was more seriously injured." In the incident in which Martinez and Ruiz allegedly followed agents for more than 20 minutes as they drove after conducting an operation in Oak Lawn. But she said the defendant's lack of criminal history and extensive family and community ties compelled her to release them pending trial. According to the 8-page criminal complaint, prosecutors say Martinez and Ruiz were driving separate vehicles in a convoy that was following agents, disobeying traffic signals, and driving aggressively to chase the federal vehicles. So usually it's the other way around. Police should have been chasing them. Instead, they were chasing the feds. But nothing to see here. Nothing at all to see here. Just ICE agents, just DHS terrorizing the community. According to J.B. Pritzker and the attorneys defending these criminals, alleged criminals. I mean, if you follow for 20 minutes, you're disobeying traffic laws, you're weaving in and out of traffic, oncoming traffic, you're not exactly innocent. It's basically a road rage situation. But I guess they thought they were filming an anti-ICE version of Fast and Furious. Assistant U.S. Attorney Sean Hennessy told the judge that Martinez had been following agents for 30 minutes and Ruiz had been following agents for 20 minutes before the shooting. As she drove, Martinez was broadcasting on Facebook Live for more than 2 minutes, Hennessy said. Video captures her repeatedly sounding her horn and following the vehicles, Hennessy said, even though her attorney makes it sound like they were chasing her. I haven't seen her live video, which apparently was being broadcast on Facebook. I'm sure they have that in their court files. Thus, they referenced it, but I haven't seen it. If there are any updates, any additional footage, maybe I'll cover it here if it's worth it. I think I've already talked about this so much. Probably just beating a dead horse at this point. In the charges filed Sunday, prosecutors notably did not mention a loaded gun in Martinez's car that was referenced in a previous statement by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. But in court Monday, Hennessy said Martinez had a loaded firearm on the passenger side of her car, but never brandished it. Guess she didn't have the chance to. Martinez's attorney, Parente, said she has a valid firearm and concealed carry license. I'll give her that. Parente also offered to play the agent's body camera video that shows the shooting, noting prosecutors did not show the video that he claimed disputes the government version of the shooting. Parente said the video shows an agent turning a federal vehicle left into Martinez's vehicle, after which an agent says, "Do something, beep." The agent then exits the vehicle and shoots at Martinez. Look, if it's an unjustified shooting, it's an unjustified shooting. But that doesn't mean the culprits in the criminal complaint are innocent. Parente said Martinez had 7 holes in her from the shooting and that agents were in such a hurry to take her into custody at the hospital that they had to return later when Martinez began bleeding from her wounds. Parente disputed the government's claim that Martinez is a danger to the community and should be detained, saying instead that the officer who shot her was a threat. Well, he was just minding his own business initially, wasn't he, until they went after him. Martinez is a U.S. citizen, works for a school, and has several supportive letters about her character filed with the court, Parente said. Ruiz is also a U.S. citizen and self-employed as a DJ, his attorney Ben Horowitz said. So there's no mention of her previous statements, LaMaggie's previous statements on social media about how she wanted to dox ICE agents, because that doesn't necessarily come into play in the criminal complaint, but worth noting, I'd say. The Saturday shooting led to a heated confrontation between federal agents and nearly 100 protesters. It was one of several protests that have flared up since President Donald Trump's administration kicked off Operation Midway Blitz last month. So there's a short video. I'll go ahead and play this. Footage allegedly shows vehicles involved in Brighton Park border. Alright, that's weird. I can no longer access this video. Sign in to confirm you're not a bot. Sign in with the Chicago Sun-Times. I am not a subscriber. That's weird. I didn't have to sign in yesterday when I first watched this. Anyways, new video appears to show cars involved in incident. Meanwhile, video footage obtained by the Chicago Sun-Times appears to show 3 of the vehicles the feds say were involved in the shooting just before it happens. The vehicles match descriptions and photos included in the criminal complaint, which alleges that a white Chevy Tahoe being driven by Border Patrol agents was followed by Martinez and a silver Nissan Rogue and Ruiz, who was behind the wheel of a black GMC Envoy. The one with the missing hubcap, I do believe. In the video captured by security cameras at a tire shop on 4000 block of South Kedzie, a white Tahoe can be seen being closely followed by a silver Nissan and black GMC with a Mexican flag decoration on its hood. The Nissan pulls alongside the driver's side of the Tahoe and at times crosses into an oncoming traffic lane. The GMC can be seen tailing the Tahoe closely as the cars pass the tire shop. The vehicles then go off-screen. The collision and shooting is not captured on the video. Neither federal officials nor attorneys for the 2 charged defendants commented on the video Monday night. I don't know why I can no longer access it here, though. After the shooting, Martinez drove herself to Big Rig Oil Pros at 35th Street and California Avenue, parked her bullet-riddled Nissan SUV in the parking lot, and walked inside. The shop manager told the Sun-Times on Monday. Employees led a bleeding Martinez to a chair in the shop's office, said the manager, who asked not to be named. A trucker at the shop called 911 as workers frantically grabbed blue shop towels and patches to place on her wounds, the manager said. The shop manager spoke with the 911 operator and said, "Send somebody quick because this lady is bleeding profusely. I mean, it was instant puddles." Police and paramedics showed up a few minutes later, he said. As paramedics placed tourniquets on Martinez's leg and arm, bullets fell out of her arm and onto the shop floor, the manager said. She left in an ambulance. FBI investigators then arrived and placed red tape around the area where Martinez had sat and around her car, the manager said. They processed the scene for half an hour, then the shop workers cleaned up the blood, he said. The FBI seeks other drivers who boxed in feds' cars. Shortly after Monday's court hearing, the FBI and Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives announced a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the other drivers who followed and boxed in agents. An FBI statement says about 10 vehicles were involved in the chase that Martinez and Ruiz were allegedly part of in the 3900 block of South Kedzie. The statement also describes the ramming of a U.S. immigration and customs enforcement vehicle repeatedly in the 3700 block of Kedzie allegedly by the driver of a black Chevy Tahoe with Illinois license plate EM62829. That driver is still at large, the FBI said. And that's as of yesterday. But there at the end, we have a reference to this. Alright, so I think I've broken it all down. Can't say I've broken any ground, but I've done my best to keep things interesting. So, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Keep in touch, keep in tune, new content is coming soon. Peace. Gotta go.